I want to welcome the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there. The narcissist is desperate to control you, and in any kind of relationship, it's going to be imperative for you to say no. Learn how to say no at the beginning of the relationship. And you can tell a lot about a person based off of how you say no and what happens following your lack of not necessary cooperation or consent, but you're just saying no to certain things. Does this person still act like a baby and start to throw a fit and a tantrum? Does this person just move on? Does this person start to at least try to negotiate rather than confront or try to control? The reason that the narcissist is desperate to control you is because that's how they feel a high after they get some kind of dominance from the relationship. And I'm not even sure if necessarily dominance is the right word. It's more about a tyrannical possession of you. They don't want you to be self-aware and self-possessed. They don't want you to be mindful of who you are and what you're about. And this is something that I do with women when I'm starting to get to know them and vet them to see if they're willing to even cooperate with me and show how they're going to cooperate with me. I disagree with them. And it's not necessarily because I'm trying to start an argument, but I disagree, or I say no, or I simply say not today, because I want to make sure that, okay, how are they going to handle their own emotions? Because if this is going to be the mother of my child down the line, I need to make sure that she can control her emotions if the kids start to get a little wild or whatever, because that kind of stuff is going to happen in a family where kids are going to be kids. So how does this woman act under pressure? How does she maintain her ability to stay calm, cool, and collected when she's being told no? And women, you can do this with the men as well. In fact, I would encourage you to be able to say no to as many men as possible until the right one for you comes along. And I know how difficult that can be, especially in today's modern age where you pretty much have men throwing themselves at you every which way. I understand. And I understand the temptation that comes along with that. The longing to feel wanted, the longing to feel desired. But you have to understand, a lot of these men out here, they're not looking for a long-term relationship. And if you're someone that actually wants a long-term relationship, woman, if you're wanting, and men for that matter, if you're wanting loyal relationships, you want respect, and you want someone that's kind and able to value you, you have to demonstrate that through your actions, that you're the kind of person to be able to do so. There's so many women, I cannot even tell you how many women act like they're the shit around me and that their shit doesn't stink. And I immediately just walk away from the situation. And when they ask where I went, or they try to come back and see what's going on, it's like, well, no, this isn't what I'm looking for. And they're shocked. They don't really understand what that means. They're like, what do you mean? What do you what? And they have all these questions going through their mind. They've got all these curiosities. But it's not always about wanting to know more about themselves and what they're doing and what to do for themselves, how they can improve. It's more about, well, why did you tell me no? Why am I not getting my way here? And I think this is a lot of the biggest misconceptions of our modern day and age. I literally had a woman maybe 6 months, 7 months, something like that ago, who I was talking to, and I told her no, and she told me that I was the first person ever to tell her no. Imagine that. And this has happened multiple times where women have told me that I'm the first man to tell them no. And it's not like I'm a mean guy. It's not like I'm a tough guy. Like, it's not like that at all. I just have a backbone. And I'm actually, if you ask any of the women that I've talked to, they'll tell you that I'm usually a very kind, considerate individual that is very open-minded. But when it comes to certain boundaries, I am able to say no and stand my ground, and that's the way it is, or nothing at all. And so while I'm in the relationship with them, I'm allowing myself to feel free to be who I am, and vice versa. But so many times, as soon as the woman starts to try to get control of the relationship, and this is what it is, guys. Guys, you have to understand this as well. Sometimes it's not even about you being out of control. It's about you not being in their control, and that's what they get mad about. And women, you have to understand the difference between being led and being controlled. There's a difference. How do you know the difference between being led and being controlled? A man is going to show you, if you're being led by a good man, he's going to show you that he's reasonable, that he can stick to his promises, that he can demonstrate his word, that he's truthful to his word, that he is going to put his life purpose first for God, or for, I mean, that's the way that I would like to see more men put God first, and women as well. In fact, I don't even want a woman if she doesn't put God first. How is she going to be able to counsel me if she doesn't know how to think for herself and doesn't put God first? I wouldn't want a woman like that anyway. And so there has to be a transformation that occurs inside you as a man in order to lead a woman. And that means that you have to be able to incorporate some of that darkness within you to expand the mind and the soul of the woman that you're with, to show her the light. So the man is going to lead through freedom, but it's not going to be like you can do whatever you want, even though you can do whatever you want. And he's probably going to be, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but if you're going to be here, that kind of behavior is not going to be acceptable. We're not going to tolerate that behavior here. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But you're not going to be involved in my life any more than you have to be. If whatever. I mean, and that might not be at all. Whereas the man that is controlling, he's going to say, you have to do this because I said so, and because I'm going to be able to make sure that this is the way things work. He's going to force things. A man that is leading you is not going to force it. He's not going to be mature in how he shows that kind of leadership. The man that is mature is going to be able to demonstrate maturity. The man that wants control is not going to be able to demonstrate maturity. Well, a lot of these women haven't even seen maturity in men, true maturity, because they're so used to men simping for them and, just floundering over them, worshiping the ground that they walk on. It's unfreaking believable how many men I see that they treat women like they're these angels. Like, it's like you're talking to the devil incarnate. Like, you are talking to the devil. That woman, I've seen that woman do some crazy shit, and you're treating her like she's a freaking princess. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And then you see the men that are completely just not in their relationships at all. Oh, well, whatever you want, babe. Oh, whatever happens, babe. Like, they're not even present. They're not even present in their relationships. And unfortunately, this is just the way a lot of relationships are nowadays. A lot of relationships, people just don't care. And it took me, in some ways, it took me a long time to realize that, like, I had to kill that boy inside of me that wanted to care. But it wasn't necessarily what was reborn on the other side. Was a man that knew who to give his heart to and who not to. And to stay open-hearted, especially to the people in our community, because if you look around, there's a lot of people that don't want to be saved. There's a lot of people that don't want to be able to fix themselves or be able to possess themselves, have some sense of self-awareness. But there are people that are at least trying. And I'm going to be the last person to not try to lend my hand and give a helping hand to somebody that isn't trying. Because if at least you're giving an effort, like, I don't really like the word try, but you can tell when somebody's actually putting in effort or not. And when people are not putting in effort in the relationships in the very beginning, you can tell the difference between effort and love bombing, because that's what a narcissist is really good at, is love bombing. And the difference between love bombing and putting in effort is the effort is getting to actually know who you are and why you are the way that you are, to see you, to see who you really are. Whereas the love bombing is flattery, it's vanity, it's excessive praise or compliments to try to get you to do something. And so oftentimes women are highly susceptible to the narcissistic manipulation, let's say, because they like the feeling of giving this man pleasure, or they like the feeling of being on the pedestal. They like the feeling of that. And so when women, you have to be recognizable, like, you have to recognize the red flags when they're there. You have to recognize them. If a man, if you're feeling really good because you're pleasing a man, but you're not getting any kind of appreciation in return, hello, like, knock, knock, knock. That's somebody that's just taking advantage of you. And is that really what you want to limit yourself to in this life? Is that really what you want to allow yourself to be? Or do you want to be something more? Do you want to actually be appreciated? Because there's nothing wrong with pleasing your man in any way, shape, or form, women. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, that's what you should want to do. That's what you're here to do. You're meant to be a helper. But to not recognize that you're not being appreciated or respected or valued, and to continue to do so, means that you've got problems. You've got self-awareness problems. You've got some trauma. And from what I can tell, there's a lot of women that are just incapable of enduring the trauma that comes along with some of their narcissistic relationships. And that's not to say that they can't heal from them, but there are some women that simply just cannot endure it. I really don't think women, like, this is one of the reasons why it's so imperative for women to make the proper decisions early on, because that is going to carry into their other relationships for the rest of their life. And they are not going to be able to be healed the same way that a man can heal. Men get better through trauma. When's the last time you heard of a man? Well, at least men can get better through trauma. Let me say that, because the suicide rates are higher for men than they are for women. In fact, there's 3 times more men committing suicide throughout the year than there are women. but there's also like 25% more women taking prescription medication for depression and anxiety. So, there's certain poisons and cons there as well. But ultimately, what we have to recognize is the red flags. When the narcissist is trying to desperately control you, it's not necessarily when I say it's going to be my plan or no plan at all when I'm with a woman, it's not because I don't value, it's not because I don't respect, it's because I myself understand that I have to be a loving authoritarian in the relationship in order for the relationship to thrive the way that it needs to. And that's not to say that, and women have to recognize when a man is capable of leading and when he's not. And that's just the way that it is. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.